Let us be the first to wish you a very, very happy and warm World Series Eve. Because we're almost there, kids. The eve of the most anticipated World Series, maybe of our lifetime. The Los Angeles Dodgers, and for the first time in 15 years, your New York Yankees. We got a lot to get to besides just that. John Maris said something last night, and Tiki Barber was right there and all over it. Plus, Devontae Adams tells us a lot about what's ailing the New York Jets. And I've got this incredible conspiracy theory about Bill Belichick that will have 97% of our audience saying, "You're right, Evan. I'm sorry for ever doubting you."
Then it has nothing to do with the Jets or the Giants?
Believe it or not, has nothing to do with the Jets or the Giants.
Really? I mean, because the Jets would be in play, but he hates the Jets, so probably not so much.
Not the Jets.
We heard John Mara say that the Dave's isn't getting fired. So
that's right.
What the heck are you talking about?
Oh, you're going to love it. I think you're going to say, Evan, that's the smartest thing you've ever said. But Yankee fans, we have to have an honest conversation. And I've had this conversation with Met fans. They get very upset with me when I say this. But I think you people, Yankee fans, will understand this better than they. This World Series that begins tomorrow night, it's the first time the Yankees have been there in 15 years. It's a long time. And I think what that reminds you is something I've stressed over and over again with the teams I root for, with the teams I don't root for, with every team, which is nothing in life is a given. Just because you think you're on the top of the world doesn't mean you're going to be back there next year. And that's why starting tomorrow night, fair or not fair, Aaron Judge is about to play the most important 8 days of his entire life. And it's going to determine his Yankee legacy for the good or for the bad. Because the reality is, Aaron Judge is in the prime of his career right now. He's at the prime of his powers. He's 32 years old.
Yep.
Next year, when the season's underway, he's going to be 33. I don't know if he's ever going to be the guy he was this year and the guy he was 2 years ago. And he's in a World Series. And you could take all his postseason numbers, and I know they haven't been good, and you could flush them. Because none of it matters. What matters, fair or not, small sample size alert, is what happens in the next 7 days. I really believe Aaron Judge, Tiki, in a lot of ways, is playing for his entire Yankee legacy based on what happens.
His entire legacy?
Yes.
Dude hit 62 home runs a couple years ago.
I know. And you're laughing, and I want to laugh too.
I am laughing.
Because this is the New York Yankees. And winning a championship is so freaking important, and having your imprint on a championship is so freaking important. And I don't want to minimize 62 home runs or 58 home runs or all the ridiculous numbers he's put up because, Tiki, he's an unbelievable, generational, superstar regular season player. But this is the New York Yankees. And for him to get to that pantheon with the other names, and I'll mention the other names if you want me to remind you, the Mickey Mantles of the world, the Joe DiMaggios of the world, the Babe Ruths of the world, even Derek Jeter. He has to win, and he has to make an impact, and that's the damn truth.
So the game is so different than it was then. The repetitive nature of the Yankees winning, that era is gone. I don't think it can't happen as easily as it used to be able to, where you just repeat after repeat or dynasty because the rest of the league can't catch up in some capacity, and you have such a strong core. Right? So I know what you're saying. I also know what you're saying about his age. 33 is not old. Giancarlo Stanton is 35, not even 35 yet, and look what he's doing in the postseason.
But remember this, Teak. Giancarlo's 35,
and he's not injury prone like Giancarlo Stanton.
Is this Giancarlo's fifth World Series? It's his first World Series.
Of course, it's his first.
Getting to a World Series is very hard. But I don't know if you're ever going to be there.
I'm not even talking about Giancarlo Stanton being in the World Series. I'm just talking about Giancarlo Stanton's age and how he's raking when it matters most in the postseason. Aaron Judge can't be that. And at 36 or 37 years old, possibly. I hear what you're trying to say because there is not a lot of opportunity, at least not frequent opportunity for the Yankees during the Aaron Judge tenure. Just hasn't happened. And so you get there one time, it might be your only time.
Yes.
And so if your legacy is going to be ultimately determined by your championship and not the full body of work over the entire course of his career, all of it, I'm assuming, is going to be with the New York Yankees, then I hear what you're saying, but I don't necessarily buy it. I think the fan...
You don't buy it because it's not fair?
Well,
or you don't buy it because you just don't think that's true?
I don't think it's true because I think there's so much other successes that Aaron Judge will be judged, it's hard to say judge will be judged by, evaluated by, but I also know that the fan realizes it's not all Aaron Judge's fault.
No one's saying it is. It's not
now,
that.
Has he been terrible at times in the postseason? Sure. But you're not going to put every loss on Aaron Judge over the course of his career in the postseason, obviously this year excluded. You can't do that. It's just not fair
Tiki,
to a team nature.
There's a difference between being appreciated as a great player, which Aaron Judge is, which Don Mattingly is, and then being on that next level. And what I would argue is that Aaron Judge has put together a resume, specifically over the last few years, where he's moving up that ladder, where he's challenging the Mickey Mantles and the Joe DiMaggios and, dare I say, even the Babe Ruths. But to get to that level, it's not just 1,100 OPSs in a regular season, and it's impressive. I don't want to minimize it, but to get to that next level is winning.
Yeah.
And I know it's tough, and I know it's not all on him. That's why these games coming up are so damn important, because it changes everything about him, fair or not. And I'm not telling you it's fair. I'm not the arbiter of what's fair or not. I'm just telling you, sitting around these places, talking to Yankee fans over the years, whether it's current players or past players, whether it's guys I watched or guys I didn't watch, you've got to win, and you got to perform at the highest level when you win.
What if he doesn't?
Then he's Don Mattingly, which is a nice, cute place.
No. He is better than Don Mattingly only because Don Mattingly's career got short-circuited because of his back injury. I don't think Aaron Judge, if he doesn't win a World Series, is going to be penalized in our view of how great he was.
Could he ever be Joe DiMaggio?
No, but
okay, well, that's my point. He can't get to that next level without winning and being a part of that winning. Because we're not talking about a cute story anymore. We're not talking about, oh, he's a great Yankee. Sure, he's a great Yankee. To this generation, you'll love him. To be an all-timer, which statistically he's challenging. I give him so much credit for that. Like, that's tough to fathom. He's challenging the Gehrigs and the Ruths and the Mantles and the DiMaggios. But what all those guys did, and I get it, Teak, it was a completely different era. In a lot of ways, you gotta win. And this is his moment.
Won so much.
And I'm not even holding him to that standard. I'm not saying he's got to win 7 championships or 5 championships.
Or 9.
But he's got to win 1, bro.
But
he's got to win 1.
He does. Let's say he wins 1. Yeah. Let's say the Yankees win the World Series and Aaron Judge hits 150 with, I don't know, 6 hits over the course, whatever.
That's a great question, by the way.
What happens?
That's a great question.
And he's not a big reason why.
I think so my answer to that would be...
You going to give him credit for it?
First of all, it's not about me, okay? I'm just the arbiter of...
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
What's around us and the way guys
are being bad despite the championship.
I think that Aaron Judge will always get credit for winning a championship. And I think that people would actually be able to slightly look past his World Series struggles and say, hey, look, they don't get to the World Series without him. The regular season was this and that. But I think struggling and losing, it's very tough to overcome because this is a franchise that's defined by winning. And for Aaron to get on that level, and he really has a chance because I think what's so incredible about what Aaron Judge has accomplished is that when he had 62 home runs in 2022 and he won the MVP, most of us thought to ourselves, of course you have to re-sign him, but let's understand he's probably never going to replicate that. I think that was a very fair opinion to have.
Yeah.
And he did 2 years later.
Right.
Dude, statistically, outside of 4 fewer home runs, he had a better season this year than he had in 2022.
Right.
Look at any metric you want to look at. Any one of them. You want to look at on base. You want to look at slugging. You want to look at RBIs. You want to look at OPS. You want to look at OPS plus. Like, I'm not even joking. Every freaking stat outside of 4 home runs, Aaron Judge was better this year than he was 2022.
That's right.
That's an incredible accomplishment. But you have to win a championship when you're a New York Yankee. And he's here.
Yeah.
And the moment's right there in front of him.
How many championships is this team winning? If they win this year, they're winning how many?
I mean,
1.
Okay.
You're probably right.
Okay.
Right?
So
every other team's going to catch up, right? Or surpass. And especially if you don't hold on to Juan Soto. I know it feels like if this team wins and they stay together, they're just going to keep winning and win. You can't guarantee that. So when I look at I listen to all the names that you're talking about, from Joe DiMaggio, who has 9, to Mickey Mantle, who has 7, and Jeter, who has 5, and Babe Ruth. How many is Babe Ruth? Babe has 5, 4, 5, whatever he has.
And Aaron's not getting any of those numbers, by the way. I agree.
It's just multiples. It's never going to. Aaron Judge is never going to get there.
But I'm not holding him to that standard because I know that for a myriad of reasons, that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
All of those guys you mentioned are part of dynastic Yankee teams. And if your point is this team going to be a dynasty? Probably not. It's very tough to be a dynasty. When was the last true dynasty we had in baseball? The answer is the Yankees.
Right.
I mean, honestly, other than the A's, they're like the only baseball team ever that's been a dynasty. So I'm not holding him to a standard.
I mean, the closest one would be not even the Astros because
they came up short.
They came up short.
I thought they had a chance. I argued with Sean last year about it. They came up short. So I'm not saying they're ever going to be a dynasty. I just know that getting here is really tough, and I think Yankee fans can appreciate that more than ever. Getting to a World Series is really, really tough. Right. And there's a good chance that this is going to be Aaron Judge's one chance at it.
So you're saying that this is going to define his career?
I think in a lot of ways, and very unfairly, yeah. Yeah, and there are guys, like Ted Williams is a great example. Ted Williams is one of the greatest hitters of all time. I think everybody agrees with that. And yet Ted Williams, unfairly, is defined by, oh yeah, but remember that World Series he was in? And it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Now, that's not fair. You're talking about the sample size of what? You're talking about the sample size of 1 year in 1946. He got to the World Series. He had 25 at-bats.
So wait.
And it defined him.
But this is the...
Fair or not, it's the truth.
I don't know, because when I think about Ted Williams, I think of reverence. I don't think of, but he didn't win the World Series.
It's a part of his story. It's a big part of his story.
Is it?
I'm not saying it's the only part of his story.
It's almost like you're saying if Aaron Judge loses this World Series and the Yankees never get back with Aaron Judge on this roster, then his floor of reverence is Ted Williams.
Well,
because Ted Williams is similar, right?
No, because
two-time MVP, he'll be a Hall of Famer.
No, but here's the difference.
Titles, all those other things.
Here's the difference. That franchise that Ted didn't win with won with nobody else. So here's how things would work if Aaron Judge doesn't win a World Series this year, and they never win a World Series, okay? And look, the Yankees could easily get back next year, but the truth is, they haven't been here since 2009. So I'm not speaking out of school, just like when I said to you on Monday about the Mets. I don't know if they'll ever be back. I don't say that flippantly about my team or your team. I say it about every team. Sports is like that. Sometimes you need to be reminded how difficult it is to get to this point.
Yeah.
But I want to answer it. Let's say the Yankees don't win the World Series this year, and Aaron Judge is mediocre in this World Series. What's his legacy? I'll tell you exactly what it is on this radio station. The modern Yankee fan, the younger Yankee fan, will say, Aaron Judge is my guy, and you keep his name out your mouth. And then other guys who are a little bit older, I'm not even saying that much older, a little bit older, will scoff and say, I watched Jeter. I watched Mariano. I watched A-Rod even. No. Sorry, not going to cut it. And then the older Yankee fan, a little grizzle in their voice, they'll say, I watched Reggie Jackson. And the real old Yankee fan, hopefully still walking the earth, will say, I watched Mickey Mantle. And so that's where his legacy will be.
Okay.
The young one will protect them, but you got to win. And it sucks because it's tough. It sucks because it's a little moment in time.
Yeah.
But it's the reality that Aaron Judge is now facing.
You know what my problem with having this conversation is?
Go ahead.
Is it's like you're trying to assign shame to that you competed and you were great at what you did, but as in a team sport, you fell short.
Yeah.
Right?
Sucks, bro.
It does suck.
I completely agree with that.
Is there shame in that for Aaron Judge? Are we chastising him? Right? Because I lived this, basically. Right? I had one shot at winning a Super Bowl.
You're right.
In 2000. We got our asses kicked. But it didn't stop me from trying to be as great as I could be every single year until I retired. Right? I don't feel shame in the fact that I didn't win a Super Bowl. Because go look. I dare you. Not dare you, but I just tell you, go look at all of the great Giants in the history of the New York Giants.
Right.
I might be the only one without a championship. Might be. And so it just is, but it doesn't make me feel lesser than.
I'm not saying it should make Aaron Judge feel lesser than.
Then why have the conversation about his legacy? Why put this in a position where Aaron, you better win or else? It's because it's not an or else. Because he's going to go rake, be great, work as hard as he can, try to be the best person that he can be for his team. And if they win, you win. If you don't, you don't. Because it's sport.
Because for the individual, for Aaron Judge, he can go retire and never have to care about stupid conversations in New York City bars. He doesn't have to.
Right.
He doesn't have to care about the 2035 discussion at Stans. Like, he doesn't have to, but that discussion will happen. And here's the beautiful part for you and for Aaron. Either way, you're in a great spot. Because if someone's saying you're not Lou Gehrig, you're
that's
just...
what I mean.
Like, it's a great spot
That's
to
what
be
I mean.
in.
That's why I was talking about Ted Williams.
Right.
Hey, guess what, Aaron? Not Yankee lore, because obviously he was in Boston, but your floor is Ted Williams.
Right.
That's the worst you're going to be remembered
it's not a terrible...
in the history of the sports world. It's like, bro, I'll take it.
No, I would too.
Because if Aaron Judge was 13 years old and you told him that, he'd say, sign me up.
Oh, 1,000%. And I think Aaron Judge has already assured himself, based on his performance at the major league level, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. He's had a great career. But that doesn't stop the discussions of fans. That doesn't stop Ralph, who's sitting there after he got off the train drinking a beer, arguing with his younger nephew. Let me tell you about Aaron Judge. He was great, but he ain't Mantle. 718-937. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Mantle never played with 6 teams in the playoffs every year either.
I know.
The road is harder
That's a
now.
great point. That's a very good point.
I want Stanford.
Hey, guess what? You guys won the league. World Series.
Right? Yeah. That's why he has more postseason at-bats and everything.
In fairness, before you continue, because I appreciate you saying that, but now I need to not fact check you, because you didn't say anything wrong, but now I need to have a discussion with you. If we played under the old rules, this would be the first Yankee playoff appearance in over a decade.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
So
they wouldn't have had chances in 17, 18, 20, 21, 22. Just if we're being fair, because you're right. If you had the best record,
And
you went
Aaron,
right to the World Series.
Can I caveat that even
This is the
further?
first time they've had the best record in over a decade.
Can I caveat that even further?
Of course you
then
can.
Maybe Cashman would have acted differently at trade deadlines.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Maybe he would have been fired 7 years ago.
And that's what I was going to say. We would always...
That's another touche.
We would always blame Cashman for that. And look, will Aaron Judge's legacy be enhanced? Sure. But I have lived long enough in this town to know guys like Patrick Ewing, Don Mattingly, Henrik Lundqvist, David Wright are beloved, and they never won it.
Are you saying there's someone else who has more on the line in this series than Aaron Judge?
Oh, there is.
Really?
Because I just rattled off a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what all those guys have in common?
Well, give me the names again.
Don Mattingly.
Don Mattingly.
David Wright.
David Wright.
Henrik Lundqvist.
Henrik Lundqvist.
Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, you know what they all have in common?
What's that?
About 6 months ago, we had this great list that we came out with, or a committee around here came out with. The greatest draft picks in New York sports history.
right, I
They
remember.
were all on that list.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Tiki Barber.
That's right.
Tiki Barber, another one of those. Again, all 5 of those guys, what do they have in common?
They were on our draft pick list.
No,
yes.
no. They were homegrown, nurtured from the ground up, always a part of these organizations like Aaron Judge is. Which is why Aaron Judge is not the one with the biggest legacy on the line.
Really?
It's Garrett freaking Cole.
Garrett freaking Cole. Let's examine that. That's an interesting point. We'll come back. We'll examine that. Plus, we'll get more to your phone calls about Aaron Judge and everything on the line as we welcome in a brand new holiday. A holiday we haven't had in this town in 9 years. A holiday we haven't had in this town for Yankee fans in 15 years. It's World Series Eve here on WFAN. And by the way we're going to celebrate World Series Eve and World Series Day is tomorrow on this radio program and throughout this radio station. We're basically giving you guys incredible lottery tickets. You're going to win pairs of World Series tickets. Morning show. Midday show. We got multiple pairs to give away tomorrow right here on WFAN. Toll-free number is 888-808-1019. We are live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Corona, the official cerveza of Major League Baseball, is throwing a Yankees watch party with WFAN and Billy's across from Yankee Stadium for Game 2 of the World Series this Saturday night.